The AI education data looks impressive. The AI Education Audit Series, Article 1 of 4. In early 2024, a small private school network called Alpha School went viral. The claim, 2 hours of AI-powered instruction a day, and students were advancing at nearly twice the national rate. Screenshots spread across social media within days. Educators were unsettled. Parents were intrigued. The usual camps formed almost immediately. One side said, proof that traditional schooling is finished. The other side said, an irresponsible experiment dressed up in data. What did those scores measure, and what did they leave out? The scores came from MAP Growth, a legitimate, widely used third-party assessment. This wasn't fabricated data. When a school reports strong results from a validated external instrument, the data deserves to be taken seriously. Taking it seriously means asking what MAP measures. It measures what a student can demonstrate with academic content on a particular day in the environment where their learning happened. What it cannot measure is whether that performance persists, whether it transfers to a new context, whether the student can do anything with that knowledge when the scaffolding that surrounded its acquisition has been removed. A study published by Bastani and colleagues in 2025 found something striking. Students who used AI tutors with full access to step-by-step guidance performed significantly better during the 8-week trial. When the AI was removed, they performed significantly worse than students who hadn't used it at all. Not just weaker, worse. The students who'd been supported by AI had acquired something that looked like learning inside the supported environment and dissolved outside it. The word scaffolding entered educational psychology through a 1976 paper by Wood, Bruner, and Ross. They used the construction metaphor deliberately. A scaffold bears load that a building can't yet bear on its own, and the entire logic of the scaffold is that it gets removed. Leave it up forever, and you haven't built a building. You've built a permanent dependency. Genuine scaffolding, in the technical sense, has 3 features. It must be contingent, responding to the learner's actual state, not delivering a fixed script. It must fade, actively receding as the learner develops capacity, and it must transfer responsibility, orienting every interaction toward making that interaction unnecessary. A good tutor is working toward their own obsolescence. AI tutoring systems do the first. Very few do the second and third. They respond well in the moment. They don't systematically recede. The student never reaches the point where they're performing without support, because the support never withdraws. What looks like learning is often performance with a scaffold that was never designed to come down. Researchers in Dunedin, New Zealand, followed over 1,000 children from birth. At ages 3 through 11, they measured self-control, the capacity to wait, manage frustration, hold attention on a task when something more interesting was available. Then they waited. By age 32, the patterns were stark. Criminal convictions, health outcomes, financial stability, all predicted from those early self-control measurements, with effect sizes large enough to represent categorical differences in how lives had gone. The thing that determines how a life goes is not primarily what a child knew. It's whether the cognitive and regulatory capacities that translate knowledge into judgment were developed during the years when that development was possible. What are AI tutoring systems doing to that development? When a system removes difficulty before the student has to wrestle with it, when frustration is preempted by a hint before the productive struggle has time to run, when engagement is curated so that the student never has to generate it from within, what is happening to the regulatory system that the Dunedin data says matters most? We don't know yet. The evaluation ecosystem around AI education is not built to answer that question. It measures session-level performance. It doesn't measure executive function trajectories across years of schooling. The instruments aren't built for that problem. The AI education field is not populated by cynics. Most of the people building these tools genuinely believe they are helping. The measurement problem isn't dishonesty. It's a structural feature of the evaluation ecosystem. We have built many instruments for measuring what students know, and almost none for measuring what they're becoming. The appropriate response to that gap is not to stop using AI in education. It's to be precise about what we know and what we don't. Short-term content gains appear real. Long-term self-regulatory development under AI-mediated conditions is genuinely unknown. These aren't the same thing, and treating them as the same thing is where the error consistently enters. The 4-article series this is based on goes through all of this with the full research, the Bastani study, the Dunedin data, the scaffolding literature, and the specific question of what responsible AI education design might look like given the evidence we actually have. If you want the mechanism rather than the summary, that's where to find it. Link in the description. The numbers in AI education look impressive. Some of them are real. The question is what they can't tell you and whether you're paying attention to that gap.